I was
Hello
going to
and
say,
welcome to
oh,
episode
sorry,
73.
mate.
How are you doing, Scott?
I'm good, man. I was just going to say that. Do you want me to record separately so you've got a backup, or are you just using this audio?
Well, do you know what? UBP style, we'll use this audio because that
Right.
is class. No, you're all good, mate.
Cool.
You're all
Sorry,
good.
carry on. I talked over you.
No, you're all good. That is a perfect starter. You are number 73. You're Scott Tailford. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Scott Tailford. I used to be the head of gaming over at Whatculture Gaming, and now I'm the head of Just Good Game Show and the Casual Wrestling Fan YouTube channel with the Title Banter podcast on the side. The Just Good Game Show is a weekly positive skewing, community fueled show, and then there's also the Just Good Game News segment of that I put out on a Friday afternoon. But yeah, as I'm talking to you, I'm only like a week removed from going solo after 12 years of Whatculture, so I'm still popping up on the Whatculture channel because I'm still doing the podcast and everything. But yeah, I've like launched my own game stuff, like game channel, game podcast, and then the wrestling channel and the wrestling podcast. And that's over on Patreon. And that stuff's doing incredibly well. You never know if anyone's actually going to care. And then when people actually cared, I was like, thank the Lord. Not a religious man, but maybe now I should be.
Well, you said it before we started. If it's a passion project, people will
Mm.
naturally that on. So, and it's obvious how much you love what you do. Like, it's obvious, right? Where's it all come from? Have you always been a gaming person? And then on top of that, has that always come through into content creation? Because it's a different lane, right?
Yeah, true. I think I think about this quite a lot, especially as I've gotten older. Like I'm 36 now, but I think a love of gaming and a love of escapism and other worlds and places where you can have agency and all that kind of stuff. I think all that, like if I'm gonna guess, I think comes from being bullied a lot as a kid, like being minimized a lot as a kid. Like a lot of first school and quite a lot of middle school was being bullied. And although like I had a bunch of friends, had a good social circle and everything, it was still a lot of being minimized. And I just have to think that I gravitated towards escaping into different worlds and realms and power sets and everything as like a way to matter in a way that like I think because you at that when you're that age, you're not thinking of it that way. You're not really conceptualizing it that way. But I think if I think like why was I so determined to like express love for this medium, it's like, well, because it kind of helped me and fundamentally was there for me in a way, like when I was at some of my most vulnerable times kind of thing. So like I said, still had a social circle, still had a great family and everything, but for whatever reason, like video games were the thing that I just got lost in. And then the content creation stuff, I don't know. I don't know if that's just an extension of me like saying to all my friends or anyone that would listen, like, oh man, you've got to see this, you've got to play this. Have you seen this thing? Look at this thing, look at this character, look at this world, look at this story or whatever. And then like obviously the way YouTube went, like, when I started Whatculture, that was at the end of 2013, and it was just a website. And I really wanted to do YouTube coverage. Like I grew up like watching GameSpot and Jeff Gerstmann and then Giant Bomb and all those kind of people, and they were always on camera, but like in like a really fun, frank way. And I really like that. I like sort of like the idea of like loose conversations around gaming, like just stick a microphone in the room with me and like Josh or whoever it is. And that's the conversation we'd be having anyway. We might as well put it out. So yeah, like I remember saying to the bosses, like we should be doing YouTube stuff. And they didn't believe in it initially. And then I just kept going on about it. And so we did. And I like conversations on games. I like recommending stuff that I love. And I don't know, I like picking everything apart. So I think it's just an extension of like, I love this thing so much. I want to tell people about it. And there's only so much I can badger my own wife with recommendations. So it becomes like a way bigger thing. But yeah, I think if you have enough passion for something and there's more and more outlets in the modern day to get it out there, then I'll just get stuck in and scream about stuff from the rooftops. It's always like, what would you do if you weren't being paid for it? It's like, well, I would be doing this anyway. It's nice that people listen.
Because the extension of that for me was it a school thing? Because we've had guys that have started blogs during school time, and
Mm.
as a way of dealing with that bullying or extra pressures and stuff.
Mhm.
Did you do that at school? Was you a media guy at school? Did you study media? Did you do anything at school like that?
Yeah. I mean, the nearest thing to what I do now was a film studies course. That was just in sixth form, which like in the UK is like a couple of like it's the optional years. Like you obviously you'll know this, but if other people listening, like you can leave high school. I forget the age, but it's like year 11, and then in my high school it was like, oh, you can stay and do a couple of years of sixth form. And you pick specific courses for that. So one of the things that I did then was film studies, and like 2 years of film studies. And it wasn't necessarily with a view of like, I'm going to go critique film or anything. It was just, I don't know, I just wanted to interact with the medium more or interact with media on a different level, like with art, and break those things down, look at the construction of stuff like that. And like, yeah, like you know how like nearly every friendship group has someone who like gets the camera and tries to become like the amateur filmmaker. That wasn't me. That was my friend D. But like, I would be in lots of his movies, or like I would like be part of those conversations. Like, oh, should we like go to this forest and we'll shoot it this way, and then we'll do like a some guys being chased through the woods or whatever it is. And like, I don't know, there was just like there's just a fun side to that. I didn't start a website back then, mainly just because like the availability of starting your own blog and stuff was a lot harder, on those connections, like 56K modems and everything. I did start my stuff in uni though. And just before I went in, I don't think it's live anymore, but I rocktherefore.com, which was because did a couple of modules in philosophy. So it's like, I think therefore I am, like Descartes. And I was like, I rock therefore I am, which is a music website. So that stuff was live during the uni years, and it is like another way of showing like what you're into kind of thing. And I started doing lists on there. So when I applied for Whatculture, I was like, I'm actually already doing the top 10 stuff. And so it was that. But I think, yeah, like when I really think about it, a lot of that stuff does come from, I don't know, just wanting to express love for a medium or love for creativity. I've always been more creatively minded than statistically minded. So it's probably just that, but it's definitely getting involved in as many media projects as possible, whether it's through friends or through certain courses that made themselves available later in high school.
Going in reverse then, because one of my questions is about creation now.
Mm.
Is it, now that you're jumping into your own sort of space a bit more, is it different now? Can you see a difference now in terms of how creators can go about it than when you first started? There must be a massive difference, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff's just more like the tools that are available to you, like in terms of the format that you're hitting. Like if I was making something for Whatculture, then I kind of know what that audience is, and I know like what the format is. Like chances are it'll be a list, or it'll be something that is phrased in a certain way that lines up with the general identity of Whatculture. And like whether that's like a news headline or a top 10 or whatever it is. And there's a certain, I mean, I've never done video editing until I broke away. But that was like a necessity of like, I need to be a one person show kind of thing. So the last sort of month or so, I've been learning how to do video edits. But then I can do goofier stuff in some of those edits. Like there's a news that broke recently about like a Warner Brothers multiplayer AAA thing that they're going to do another one of them, even though there's so many of them have failed as a multiplayer game. And I remember talking about that on a video that I was doing on my channel. And as I couldn't find the words, I was like live service, multiplayer, AAA thing. And then in the edit, I just cut that so that the footage inverts and goes upside down and is whatever as I'm trying to like figure it out, because I thought it was just a stupid fun thing to do. And you can run with stupid fun things a lot more when it's just you, instead of thinking like, oh, I'm representing the entire brand, or going off on a tangent or whatever. Like obviously the beauty of having your own channel and followers is that everyone's coming for you, for your thoughts, so you can kind of steer into that a little bit more. But I would never want to be egotistical about it. It's just, you're just hoping that it's okay to talk about certain things or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely different when it's just me, just because it's a lot more relaxed and free form. And but still, a lot of the Whatculture stuff, especially the podcasts, are in that vein as well. I think that's, like I said, the conversation me and Josh will be having in the room is what the podcast is anyway, in regards to that stuff. But yeah, it's not, I don't have to worry about representing a company or a brand anymore, and it can just be me, which is quite nice.
Because what about people that want to start their own thing? If people have never done it before, can you see a difference between, say, let's say 15, 20 years ago, when people were doing just online random blogs on sites, whereas now everyone's got a camera, everyone's got their own page? Is it easier now? Is it tougher now because it's so saturated? Where you stand on that?
It's almost both. I think it's way easier in terms of getting something made, like in terms of being able to, like, anyone's phone from the last sort of even like 10 years or more than that is capable of HD video. Some of them have editors on the phones themselves as well. But like, yeah, like if I was gonna, like, it's so much easier now to just be able to just like film something, maybe order a tripod off Amazon for like £6. There's an Amazon Essentials tripod for like £6. Get one of them. You can set up your phone in it. And shoot something. The microphone on the phone will be good enough if you want to just get your viewpoints out there, get it uploaded to YouTube, and get a video out there. Then it comes down to like the title of the video, whether you get people in, and then obviously like the, like whatever the content is kind of thing, whether they stick around. But you can get something in front of people fundamentally in a way that we couldn't 10, 15 years ago. Although 10, 15 years ago now is only like 2010. So I guess it will be a little bit longer. But yeah, I think a lot more things are available to you. I mean, I mentioned this on one of the pods that I've done recently, where me getting used to video editing, I'm using DaVinci Resolve, which is a free video editing platform. And it's apparently quite similar to like Adobe Premiere, which I've never really used. I used it a little bit in university, but that's free. Like you can edit your videos, you can look up the tutorials, everything that I've put out on the Patreon, that's on the YouTube channels and everything, that's all through DaVinci Resolve. And that was all the free version. There is like a paid one, but it's like, you've got your phone. If you've got a phone, then you've got a capable camera. You could always buy one, but the editing software is free. You can put it on YouTube for free. you can get monetized over time, like if there's enough people that gravitate to the content kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's way easier now to just get started. And you've got like Audacity as a free piece of audio editing software, like things that I've used the whole time. Like every one of the Whatculture podcasts is edited on Audacity. Like it's such a simple thing. So yeah, I think it's a lot easier to get started. It is also harder because everyone else can do the same thing. And obviously you're vying for attention on a platform that is now, in YouTube's case, almost 20 years old. So there are millions of people. I forget the statistic they put out about how many people upload a video a day. It is so many millions of videos a day. But it's always going to come down to the titles, whether you're engaging, what you're talking about, the angle you're going with, how you present yourself, etc. But at least you can give it a shot. At least you can get things filmed and edited down or whatever. Like, at least that's how I approach it. It's like anyone can give it a chance. Like I've gone from, like I launched my 2 channels, and obviously I've got like 12 years worth of history, but at least I was able to get the videos there for people to be ready to see when I said I was leaving, kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's easy enough to get things off the ground, but getting them noticed is a bit harder.
Well, I was going to say, how would you stand out? How would you go? How do you stand out now?
Um,
Is it just purely triggering people and then getting the back in that you then
I mean,
follow through with, or is it just
I feel like I mean, yeah, it depends, because like to me that's quite like a wide question, because it's like it depends. Yeah, I mean, if you want to just do like the most aggressively negative, over the top stuff, then you'll probably get a few rage clicks for the day. There's always a portion of people that are just looking to be annoyed for their lunch break or whatever it is. And I feel like we've seen a lot of that. Like you've seen a lot of, like, in the posts, as something like, Marvel and Star Wars and whatever started getting quote unquote worse across the last few years, you've seen so many YouTubers that have like exploded as just like the negative person. Like there's various different channels that are known for that. Like you go to them for a take that is probably negative on a mass media thing. And I think it's easy to do that. Like and Whatculture, I mean, like I/Whatculture have done pieces that have obviously been negative. Like it's worth critiquing things, but it never came from a place of like, I'm going to tear this thing to ribbons and I hope the person fails and I want them to go bankrupt. And it's like, it was never that. It's always the work. Like you critique the art, you critique the work. You don't necessarily critique the person, unless they've done something horrific. But no, I think you just be genuine, like and understand that it's going to take time. Like, yeah, it's going to take time and consistency, especially if you want to build an audience for yourself. But there are multiple ways you can stand out. And I think that YouTube's interesting. It depends what platform you're talking about as well, because it depends where you upload your recordings, like what those algorithms are, how they get shared, whether you do paid advertising, try to get things in front of people. YouTube across the last sort of 3 years has clamped down a lot on swearing and blood, and things that unsavory elements that might what do you call it, like contest their advertising, because they want to have as much wide advertising as possible. So there's all that stuff as well, where like there are ways to make things that are a bit safer, a bit more potentially sanitized, and get advertising in front of them that way. There's also the timing side of it as well. I mean, like I'm coming off a decade plus of experience with this stuff, but if you do some movie breaks, Fantastic Four just came out, and you're able to get a video out like, a couple of hours after the initial premiere, and it's like Fantastic Four is a, colossal disappointment, and it's in caps, you'll get a few people, because YouTube will be pushing that for a little bit before it all kind of meters out. So timing is a big part of it as well. Timing, consistency, and understanding that it'll take time.
I like what you said there, because we had Ash on, and Ash said it's the YouTube screaming man.
Right.
Screamy, shouty, just in your face blurt of stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of falling by the wayside now. People are looking more for substantiated, you may be yes or no, but just some solid stuff we can get articulated. We don't need that initial burst of stuff for no reason. Because obviously where you worked at Whatculture, you must have really enjoyed that, being part of a team and experiencing that. We can put out stuff we want to put out. Yes, we've got targets. Yes, we have lists to do. Yes, we have whatever. But how was it working with that team, and how did you find all that?
Oh man, like, yeah, phenomenal. Like I said, it's the conversations that I will be having in the room anyway. And we always had such great conversations. Like there's different permutations of the team. Like you can go all the way back. I don't know how long you've like, if you've watched Whatculture for a while, but way back in the mid 2010s, it was like me and Peter, and then Ben Potter came on board, and then the 3 of us were really solid, and then Jules moved up, and then the 4 of us were awesome. But then you've got these different permutations, like Rich came on board, Josh, Ewan, Ash, Rach, Osley. Like there's just so many different versions of those people, but everyone is so knowledgeable and passionate and lovely. Like and yeah, man, I love every single person there. Like I mentioned them all in my video and stuff on my farewell thing. But yeah, like you said, it was great. You could grab anyone and be like, do you want to shoot a news? Like such and such news thing just broke, talking point just happened. We're all talking about it in the room because one person brings it up on a screen. Oh my God, have you seen blah, blah? And we just start talking about it in the office. And it's like, oh, come with me, come to the studio, right? Let's shoot this thing. There was such an energy to that combination of people that was, and it's still there. I'm just referring to that specific end of the 2010s period. But like when you get enough people like that in a room, they would react to things anyway. And we used to just be able to just like hit the button and film it. And that's, like I said, that's largely what me and Josh have. Obviously, Cy works remote, and so does Dan and Joe for the most part. But whenever we're all together, that energy is very much there again. Like I definitely do thrive in a team because I just love conversation and getting people's opinions on things, and then hopefully like filming them and chatting and whatever. So, but yeah, man, the immediacy of it when you've got so many knowledgeable, passionate people all at once, and they all have different knowledge bases as well. Like, you know, me and Rach would know quite a bit about Nintendo. Ash knew like Elder Scrolls and horror stuff inside out. Josh knows his horror, things like that. Yeah, man, you couldn't go wrong with any combination of those people, and it was just so easy to get stuff done. And we made so much stuff. Like I've never looked at the overall hour count before, but it'll be a lot.
Probably scare you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, hundreds of millions of hours of content. But yeah, man, I mean, like, yeah, that was a very specific chunk of time because it kind of the pandemic kind of killed it because that's when people moved away and got different jobs and stuff. But we had a hell of a run, like the specific, like when everything was the absolute apex, like 2017 to 2020, like yeah, that was phenomenal.
This is why I'm so excited because I was just chatting to my wife yesterday, something completely irrelevant about about university, and about university for me was kind of like a formation year, as it should be for most of us, because everyone's like, look, everyone's got this yearning to learn. You get different vibes and different respects from every single different angle, right? And I almost feel like you can sort of use that as an analogy for your work life, because I think if you now have been through the whole everyone's together, big team energy thing, now you're taking your own path but you're still keeping that or in touch with that by doing the pods, by doing it. Can you sort of see that analogy and that parallel? Because you've got this freedom now that you're not locked into doing university coursework or lists. You're doing your own thing. But it's like you've learned so much in that group, you can still keep that together.
Yeah. I mean,
question there somewhere, but you know what I'm
no,
saying?
no, I know what you mean. I mean, that's kind of the thing is that I couldn't have done this earlier. Like, you need from my point of view, the thing that I'm like going into now, like I know exactly what I'm doing because I've done it for so long. And if I'd done it any earlier, I probably would have made a mistake, or I wouldn't have crafted it the same way. Or I wouldn't be able to get my head around so many different things at once in regards to, you know, like being able to understand like recording and editing the podcast and sorting the video edits and researching the news and presenting stuff. And like there's a lot of different skills there that like I've just picked up over time that I've just been doing this for so long. And it does let you sort of like break away. I think as well, like the university analog is interesting because I feel like when you're in uni, like you almost get to reset as a person again because you're meeting all these new people, you get all these new social circles, and you get to reintroduce yourself and be like, well, I want to keep this part of my old self, and like, oh, actually, I'm into this, and I'm going to be into this, and I'm going to like blossom and do all these new things, and then over time, it just becomes you. But then it's the same thing with picking and choosing which paths of work you want to go down. Where in my case, I was like, I've done like 12 years worth of Whatculture, but 3 of those years were managerial, where I insisted on doing the creative stuff because I just didn't want to give up doing the camera stuff. So I took on all the statistical budget tracking, boring stuff, but then I still kept doing the news, the podcasts, the lists, everything. And obviously that balance, it just didn't really work over time. But coming out of that, I was like, right, similar to the uni thing, like I want to keep this podcast. So I want to keep, 5 different things. I want to lose these other things. And this is me going forward. And I know from time spent, maturity, experience, whatever, that like I know what I want to do with my time in a way that I didn't beforehand. And I think just some of that is just raw time spent in a job. And I think you kind of hit those potentially glass ceilings, the more time you spend in a certain job. And that was definitely the case with me, where I was like, I love the team, I love the people, I love the work, not the managerial, but I love the creative work. And like, I need to be able to go down a path that is focused on the good stuff, because what's the point in spending time doing all the stuff that I don't enjoy?
I'm so excited to see what you do, because this whole we can get into the whole what your podcast is going to become and what your content's going to become later, because I've got questions on that. But
Yeah,
just chat really quickly then, because I want to move on to the next section. Why AEW, and how is that now going to inform some of your content?
AEW, like why the wrestling company. Mainly they were the things that they were the company that got me back into wrestling. Like I used to be an Attitude Era kid, like a lot of people were. And then I watched a little bit of the beginning of the 2000s. I forget what that era, Ruthless Aggression or whatever that era was called in wrestling. But that was when it just started getting a bit too cringe, and I didn't really like. I just wasn't bothered anymore. I just felt like I outgrew it. And then I didn't watch wrestling for ages until that Undertaker match where he was against Lesnar, and it was like the rumor was that he was going to lose the streak. And I remember watching that as a student at like 4 a.m. and just freaking out. Like, and it took me at the time, it took me back to being such a huge wrestling fan. But then I still didn't keep watching it because every time I would check in with WWE, I just found it to be a bit too cringe and overproduced and whatever. And then when CM Punk went to AEW in like 2021 or whatever that was, that was such a seismic thing. And I'd heard about AEW because all the wrestling guys at Whatculture mention it. So I'd seen bits and pieces, and I used to make like loads of thumbnails for all the different channels. So I'd made a few wrestling thumbnails with like Tony Khan on or Hangman Page or whatever. And so when Punk went to AEW and everyone was like, oh my God, this is it. You need to pay attention to this company. I just watched it. And I watched Punk come out, and then I watched, I think me and my wife we got a bunch of snacks in because we were both lapsed wrestling fans, and we had like a whole weekend of just rediscovering wrestling. And we went back through loads of old, like WF classic matches, like the King of the Ring with Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon from like 2003 or whatever it is. Just a whole bunch of wrestling matches. And then we watched like Dynamite and Rampage and Dark Elevation, and just took it all in. And I just kind of fell in love with like the craft of it. And I think that AEW executes on the craft of wrestling, the art form, the storytelling, the athleticism more than WWE does. Because to me, WWE is very showy and very like it's very like distraction heavy. They're distracting you with a camera angle, they're distracting you with a sponsor, they're distracting you with a cutaway or whatever. And for whatever reason, I like the sort of stripped back approach that AEW had. And it's why I love New Japan as well. And it's not that I can't appreciate WWE. I've just watched SummerSlam, and it was cool. But there's AEW is very pure, at least it is to me. And the athleticism and the characters I really liked, and I fell in love with characters like Hangman Page, and Eddie Kingston and people like that. So it was just the full package, and it was just very like easy to appreciate, and it didn't feel cringy, it didn't feel childish. It just felt like, I don't know, worth watching in a way that I hadn't felt with wrestling in a while.
Well, it's interesting because people say, oh, you get these lists on whatever site you want to go on to. What's your favorite wrestling match? Or if you could recommend a match, what would you recommend? And what's funny about it is I don't watch AEW religiously, but 3 of the matches I'd pick for someone brand new to watch wrestling are from that show. Because you've got Orange Cassidy and Pac.
Yes.
You've got Omega and Bryan, and you've got anything with Will Ospreay. And I'm like, the fact I don't watch the show enough is kind of alarming, really. But like, there's a lot of stuff there to enjoy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know?
I mean, the thing, yeah, I mean, that was the thing because WWE seems to like wax and wane a little bit. And coming out of Mania this year, there was a lot of like, oh my God, I'm done. Like the whole Travis Scott thing, the end of Mania. And so I saw quite a few posts on either Reddit or just social media, Reddit, like Twitter, whatever, saying like, right, I'm done. I'm going to watch AEW. And then watching AEW's All In show, which was like one of the best pay-per-views they've done, and then being converted or whatever. Whereas I would just enjoy both. Like if both are good, I'll watch both. It reminds me of like growing up and people were like Metallica or Megadeth, and it's like, just listen to both. They're both pretty good. Why rob yourself of one of them? But yeah, it's like that thing of like there are some really quality matches that will attract people no matter what. Like at some point, it's just undeniable, the athleticism, the intensity, or whatever it is. And I think I felt like I saw people go like okay, fine, it's that good in regards to like that particular pay-per-view anyway.
Because I mean, the only thing I would really say about AEW is Moxley isn't for me,
right?
Because he's so prominent at so many times. It's kind of but
I know what you mean.
Like I say, there's stuff there for everybody. So
Mox is weird because it's like they keep trying to do like his thing where he rakes the back with the nails, and I'm just like, what are you doing, pal? Like, just no one would do this.
Stop getting stabbed, mate. Stop getting stabbed.
I did quite like, actually, for as much as like WWE has moved away from doing the blood stuff, like the Gunther Punk match, the use of blood in that was awesome, and I loved Gunther being like the wounded animal and just like seeing his own blood and freaking out like some. I don't know, like a huge bear that's finally been wounded, and like I thought that was like a really good use of that. But you're right, like so many wrestlers will blade just for the sake of it, and Mox does it all the time. There was an era where he was doing it in literally every single match across the last couple of years. But yeah, there's a place for it sometimes.
insanity. But let's get back to the important bits, which is the gaming side of things.
Yes.
Like I said, I've got a lot of questions about your stuff later, but let's get into the second part, which is hot takes and solid debates. As you might imagine, we love a good hot take here and there. And I have some tailored for you, but I always say to the person in front of me, have you got a gaming hot take?
Oh, that's so wide. Well, a game-based, industry-based?
So actually, every single question on these, interpretation is yours. You can go into the gaming industry, you can go a certain game, a game series, anything you want.
I've said this on one of the podcasts before, but Nintendo are the only company that knows what the hell they're doing. You said I could swear. They're the only company that knows what the fuck they're doing. Like the amount of, like the Xbox stuff is just a car crash in slow motion. With every time you think that it's like one of those things where you see like a pile up on like a highway, and then like they go to move the camera away, and another car comes flying down the road and smashes into it, and it's let's just keep watching it. It's still on fire. It's still going. It's still an inferno. And then on the Sony side, it's like, hey, we need to do all these live service projects, and we need to make sure we got multiplayer going. And you do. That is a nice way to make money alongside your single player premium stuff. But things like Concord ain't it. Something that would have been it might have been The Last of Us. But the whole Jim Ryan era, like obviously he's ex, I forget what his title was now, but he's ex-leader of Sony. That Jim Ryan era was like the weirdest pivot where they wanted to do PlayStation Studios and they greenlit all the TV shows and the movies. And then they greenlit like 12 live service projects and none of them made it. Like there's only like Helldivers 2 is one of the only ones that came out positively. Everything else has either been canceled, shifted back or whatever. And then Jim Ryan stepped down where he's like, my work is done. I'm moving on. And it's like, well, you've broke everything, to be honest. Whereas Nintendo just stay the course. And you can argue that their communication is terrible. It is. But they deliver the systems. They work extremely well. They deliver first party. They know what the hell they're doing. They manage expectations and they manage the budgets. And they're able to execute on video games without losing hundreds of millions of dollars on a project that is an experiment that wasn't even going to work in the first place. So my hottest take, and it's probably not even that hot because, like I said, PlayStation and Xbox have only continued to fall down the hill, is that Nintendo are the only company that knows what they're doing. And the only path forward is to respect the levels of budgets and the way that they are running their business. We don't need $500 million 10-year in development games. We're probably okay with just some video games that maybe don't take someone like 5 years to put together. It would probably be that. Just like something either that or just the general idea that like I hate all of the reliance on. I mean, it's all stuff me and Josh argue about. I hate all the reliance on graphics over gameplay, and like, oh, look how realistic this face is, and oh, the pupils dilate when the light is. Who gives a shit? Who cares? I know Josh does, but it's just that thing of, can we not just make some games? Can you make some video games? Because that's kind of why I'm here. I'll go and watch a movie if I want to look at someone's realistic eyes.
To use an old term,
yes.
Had Nintendo this year had one of the biggest face turns of the summer? Because obviously when the Switch 2 was first announced, and obviously they brought out some of the features, and so it sounds great, but there was so much money involved, and games were too expensive, and yada yada. There's a whole list of things you could have moaned at. But since it's come out, obviously it's been well received, right? Is it one of the best consoles or the best console of the generation? Is it?
I wouldn't say it's the
run.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a face turn because to me they face turned with the Switch like back in 2017. Like the heel run was the Wii U era, where they couldn't get anything to work on the Wii U, and then so many Wii U games then appeared on the Switch 2017 onwards. The Switch 2 I love as like I used to refer to the Switch as like the little machine that could, because it always felt like when The Witcher 3 arrived on Switch, it was like there's no way that thing runs. Oh God, it does. Okay. And with the Switch 2, it's like it's a natural continuation of that. And they have all the DLSS stuff, like the auto improvement, auto graphical scaling stuff, like resolutions, frame rates, whatever. Like I've just seen that WWE 2K25 apparently runs incredibly well on Switch 2. And like even as a sentence, I'm like, no, surely not, considering the absolute state the 2K18 was in. But then I watched a bunch of side-by-sides of Switch 2 and PS5, and the Switch 2 looks pretty damn good, if not better than the PS5 in certain places. And apparently it loads faster as well. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best console of the generation, because I think in that conversation, that best console of the generation conversation, you would need horsepower to be able to execute on the majority of what the industry can offer, and not every single thing is on the Switch. So that's like a different conversation. But I think it's one of the most capable machines ever made. And I think it's I love the hybrid functionality of it. Like it's my main system. And then I guess PS5 will be after that. But I do love the form factor of it. And I love the mix of first party Nintendo stuff. And then like all the indies and all this little like the games that are on PC that then make their way to Switch. There is something very capable and immediate about using a Switch that I've loved since 2017.
I was going to say, because pound for pound, it may not have everything that you need right now,
Mm.
but you look at say the PS5, right? There was a thing that Co-op 64 did, which was the list of is the generation a failure or not. But a lot of the games they listed as being like positives hadn't even come out yet. So
Right. Okay.
the PS5 hasn't delivered either. And so, at what point does the Switch's capability outweigh the PS5's possibility? Do you know what I mean?
I think I don't know how much that's just like a weird entrenched talking point. Like, oh, the generation's a failure. Like, in what way? Like, what are we comparing it to? Like, the industry is bigger and wider than ever. Like, in the last week, I played Ninja Gaiden Ragebound and the Shinobi Art of Vengeance demo, and they are both spectacular 2D side-scrolling video games with immaculate art design and perfect controls. Like most people probably aren't going to go looking for that. They're sitting and waiting for GTA 6 or whatever it is. And I think a lot of those conversations come from trying to do a direct comparison to what gaming felt like when you were a kid and when release cycles were just different. The industry was in a different place. The medium is so much bigger and wider, like I said, now than it was back then. There are thousands of more companies doing this thing. But you need to actually put the time in and find your niche. You wouldn't say that the music industry sucked. The entire industry is terrible. And then because you're putting the time into making your own playlists and curating your albums and artists, and you're getting stuck into it, people don't get, or like the average person doesn't get stuck into games in the same way. And then they complain that not enough stuff is being served up to them. Like I could sit here and complain that not enough music that I'm into is served up to me. But if I like type certain genres into a search bar on Spotify, I'll find a ton of artists that I then enjoy. To me, it's the exact same in gaming. And I find that a lot of the complaints that like, oh, the industry sucks, like, you know, it's so much worse. It's not. It's so much bigger and more expansive and rewarding, but it's a full medium now. It's done proving itself. It now exists alongside film and music and TV shows and everything. And you need to go looking for stuff. Like there are only like a handful of tentpole TV shows a year that get like the wider audience in. And it's the same thing in gaming. But if you go looking for stuff, you will find it.
I like it because I said before about the internet being endless. I think gaming is that medium that's caught up where it is endless. There is stuff out, especially where the indie scene is so strong. There's stuff where you can find literally anything now.
Yeah.
As long as you search in the right places and hard enough, you will find it. So that is kind of a weird talking point whereby, like, yeah, you could argue the mainstream's a little bit softer than it used to be, or lighter it used to be, but then that stuff is still there for you. You can get the same gameplay out of pick a random one, 2015 Mad Max, out of that than you could out of something new because you've not looked in the right place. Let me just throw real quick before I move on a couple of ones that I've tailored for you. Quick fire answers, yes or no. And everything you want to delve into. I mentioned it with Ash and with Josh. Pokemon horror, yes or
no? What should they do one? Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, of course. I mean, they already did it in was it Pallet Town or whatever you call it in the first one? Yeah.
Because I maintain you said about Nintendo being on the ball sort of thing. It's the only thing missing, I think, from Nintendo in terms of the fact that Pokemon is 30 years and stale and whatever. If you give me a horror version of that, I think it'd be. I know Digimon did it. I know Power World tried. An actual Pokemon IP that's horror-y would be fantastic.
I was gonna say, like I said, they did it in the original game. I feel like they did something else in one of the follow-up games, like a village that was full of ghosts or something like that. But there's a way to do it. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's is incredibly popular. Like they could have their own little slice of that. And there's so many Pokemon spin-offs like Concierge and Friends and whatever. Like you could easily do that. There's enough Pokemon that would easily work as semi-terrifying enemies, definitely.
Final Fantasy, best series ever?
No, but I don't have an answer instead.
That's where I sat, you know, because someone said it on this podcast, and I was like, no. But actually, when you think about it, they got quite a strong argument.
I mean, the thing is,
30 years long, over 30 years long.
Yeah, if you're sort of
terrible versions, if you don't look hard enough.
I was going to say, if you sort of go off like longevity and how high the bar has stayed for that length of time, then you could make a pretty strong argument. When I went back through the entire series, I did love the vast majority of my time. I just feel like I don't want to say something is the best series of all time because I'm now trying to think what I would say is the best series of all. Probably Mario, to be honest, or Zelda, because there's not really been any truly horrific Zeldas or Marios. Whereas in Final Fantasy's case, 13 is to me abysmal. And and 12 I never finished either. So I find 13 to be incredibly off-putting on a gameplay level, whereas I've never been thoroughly put off by a Zelda or a Mario.
And then the last one for me, little sidebar, Dirge of Cerberus is the best version. And then the Mortal Kombat movie, yes or no? The new one.
Oh yes, in terms of the new one, definitely. I mean, I'm always a big I'm optimistic. Like I'm hoping something's going to be cool. I love the beginning of the 2022 one or whenever that movie came out. That whole bit where Sub-Zero is pretty much the Terminator and he's hunting down Jax and Sonya and stuff. That's awesome. It was just as it went on, it got worse. And like that whole thing where like people's powers are like a mark that's given to them and not like, whether they're human or from a different race or from the nether world or whatever, nether realm. To me, that almost broke the entire point of Mortal Kombat, which is bringing all these different fighters together, these different warriors from all these different realms and different places. If you're just chosen and you get stuff, then that sucks. Like I want to know that Sonya and Jax are like two humans that are going up against, a couple of Tarkatans or whatever it is, like for Baraka. So that movie got worse the more it went on. But it had its heart in the right place, I think, and the fatalities were cool. And then 2 looks awesome, but I'm like a blind fan for Mortal Kombat. I just love that series. Even though MK1 again got worse the more you played it. But I always have hope. I grew up with all of Mortal, like from the very beginning with Mortal Kombat. So I just hope that it's okay. They have to be learning from their mistakes. It seems like they are, because that Cole guy's not hardly anywhere to be seen in the next movie, and he was like the terrible main character. Get rid of that guy.
Because I have the same thing with the Resi films. Same thing. I love them because they're so wild and wacky.
Same.
If you accept that after 2 of Resi, it's just nuts. Accept it, have some fun with it. It's fine.
Oh man, every time they would come out, me and my friend Chris would go to the cinema, and just what you were getting in for every time a new one of those came out. And I would pop seeing the characters that I knew. I would laugh at the stupid set pieces. I never took them seriously, but they were very fun. Even Resident Evil 3D was fun in the cinema.
I mean, Mortal Kombat 1 was great, like you say. Welcome to Raccoon City. I love it. I even like, and I'm not a massive Resi fan, the Lance Reddick show.
Oh, right. Okay. I couldn't get away with that.
It's so slow, but it's different. I quite enjoy that.
I do. Yeah. I like them changing up in terms of like, I kind of wish they hadn't revealed what it was called. Like if they called it something else, I don't know what you would have called it, but like, you reveal near the end that actually that guy you've been following for a whole season, that's Albert Wesker. And then you have that reveal scene with like where the actual him comes in, all the clones and stuff. Like there's a way that they could have done that would have been like way, way better. But that slowness is what put me off it. I thought some of the acting was all over the place. But I used to like Lance Reddick's awesome. Like he would have been such a fun, if they really rolled with it, he would have been such a fun casting overall.
And then let's move on to the next part, which is coaches' questions. Now, the best way I can describe it to you, Scott, is like a chatty faces style section.
Cool.
I post questions on my page, just general gaming questions that try and spark a bit of debate, a bit of questions, and throw some at you at random. So the first one is, what is something that gaming is missing?
Ooh. Like a level of understanding of how things are made. I always feel like you get, because like in movies you'll get making ofs, you'll get behind the scenes, you'll get like literally like showing, like when The Last Jedi was coming out, it was like, here we're literally showing you how these scenes are being filmed on this island in Ireland, and that's how the sausage is made. Music, you'll get studio documentaries, like TV shows, same thing. Gaming hardly ever has that, either because it's locked up beforehand through like NDAs and we can't reveal this certain project or whatever, or after the fact, it's like the team just has to move on to something else. Someone like Danny O'Dwyer from GameSpot, he started NoClip over on YouTube to try and solve this. Like he has premium paid documentaries, and they've done like phenomenal work, like even really big games like Rocket League and Horizon and things like that. But he's one of the only people doing that. And I think the average gamer, the average consumer, or whatever, appreciator of video games would benefit from knowing how they come together. Like I always plug Psych Odyssey. It's the Double Fine documentary. It's free. It's on their YouTube. It's like 30 episodes long, but that is a proper fly on the wall documentary of how they made Psychonauts 2, from napkin sketches and just conversation all the way through to the finished game. And it's phenomenal. Like it's so well put together. It's so detailed and it's so informative. And it's like such a good look at what the reality of making a game. Because I feel like we always see it online where like a game's coming out in like 2 or 3 months and it's people going like, well, I hope they add this storyline, or I hope they add this mechanic. And it's like, that stuff was signed off 2 years ago or whatever. And I just think we'd be better off knowing how things are made. So I think it's that. I think there's been a handful of attempts made over the years to satisfy that stuff. There used to be a Sony show, an official PlayStation show hosted by Will Wheaton, like a few years ago, and he used to get like devs on. I think they only did like a couple episodes of it. One of them had Neil Druckmann on, but yeah, it's definitely that for me. It's just like I want more insight into how games are put together, and I guess more accountability to a degree in regards to the big top tier publishers that always, all the layoffs that we keep hearing about. It's like, well, if we saw how things were made and those voices were allowed to be heard, then maybe that would help with the workers' rights side of it, where they're forever on the brunt of being moved around different sections of a game, or having projects cancelled, kind of thing.
Are game devs and producers kind of falling under their own success a little bit? Where we've had so many, like nowadays, there's so many games available. Like I said earlier, you can get your hands on pretty much any kind of genre, any kind of game type. There's so much stuff out there, and the pull for it's so massive that people don't value it anymore as much as they used to. They're sort of suffering a bit because of their successes.
To a degree, but I mean, I guess you could say like I said, my comparison are always just established mediums. It's like, does a new rock album suffer because the rock genre is already so popular? Like it shouldn't if people are into rock, for example. But yeah, I mean, it was a bigger deal when like a new Final Fantasy was coming out in the 2000s or the 2010s or whatever, because there weren't as many JRPGs in the West. Like even the Yakuza series, like that is like a mainstay of the West now, and it wasn't until about like 2011 or 2012 or whatever when Yakuza 0 came out. I may have my years wrong with that, but 0 was the one where they finally synced up with the Western releases and the Eastern releases at the same time. And like, yeah, I think everything being more available now and more widely available, I guess, does take away the rarity feel, which, yeah, like can get in, like has a knock-on effect of meaning that you can get that experience somewhere else and you're not waiting for it. It's just different scales. The industry has a different scale now, a different scope and scale compared to what it was when we were growing up. And different genres are spotlighted so much more. But even like, the Nintendo Partner Direct, like last week, that ended on 2 HD 2D games, both from Square Enix. Whereas like in the 2000s, they would have been spaced out like 2 or 3 years. Whereas like you get like a new JRPG announcement nearly every week now, for better or worse, kind of thing.
And then a little bit lighter. Let's try and make it a bit more easygoing, because that's obviously that's so much chat about there and there, because it's like that. I always say that the ability to miss is missing from gaming because it's all at your fingertips.
Right.
The old school stuff about you bought a game once a month, once a year, whatever, and you valued it because you had it. Whereas nowadays, I don't like it, I'll bin that off and get another one. The ability to miss is missing still, so you don't value it as much. But yeah, let's move on a little bit to the next one, which is, what's a minor thing in the game that really bugs you?
Well, I guess it's my go-to is checkpoints. I just I mentioned them loads on the podcast, but if I die in a game or like I get something wrong, there's some puzzle going, like I fall down a pit or whatever it is, for the love of God, put me back exactly where I was and I'll do it again. Like the challenge shouldn't be how much can you put up with getting back to the point that you failed at. The challenge should be the challenge itself. Like I detest bad checkpoint placement, or just like, I wouldn't even call it unfair, just awkward checkpoint placement. Like I love Celeste, came out in like 2018, one of my favorite platformers. Great story, it's a phenomenal game. That game, when you die, it puts you right back on the screen that you died on, and you just get to go again and go again and go again, and it's instant. Perfect. That's all it needs to be. The new Ninja Gaiden's really good with it as well. That's a small thing to a lot of people, but that pisses me off. Like, especially because now that I'm a dad, I have like very limited time to game. And it's like, if you're going to take away an hour's worth of time from me, or take away like a whole session from me, fuck you. Like I already have that amount of time to game, and I almost view it, and it's not, but I almost view it as an accessibility feature, like a quality of life. It's a quality of life feature. I need a dad mode toggle that says like, hey, you've only got 2 hours to play. We will put you right back there. No worries. And the people who want the friction and the hard gameplay and everything else, they can enjoy corpse running for 3 hours back to the boss to beat them. But I do not have that time. So if I'm going to get through your game, you're going to have to respect my time. Because I hate that shit. Like that stuff pisses me off.
What I love about this conversation so much, and we've had it every single time, and whenever there's questions like this, you can think about something small and it really gets in your tits, and then you start ranting about it because so much you care about it so much. I love it.
Well, because a bigger one.
I hate the fact that which in 2025 most mirrors should work.
Yeah.
You agree on that?
Well, that goes into my like graphics don't matter thing. So no, I don't care. Like, why would I need that? Unless the gameplay is about mirrors, and I'm trying to like I'm trying to headshot a guy through a mirror that's behind me, then sweet, I'm going to need that to work. But if I'm just walking into a bathroom as, you know, some random character in Resident Evil, no, I don't give a shit about that. That stuff, that's everything that is wrong with gaming to me, where it's like that's the graphics versus gameplay argument to me.
And the only one I'll finish off with is the one that since I was like 5, it's pissed me off. It's when you've had this dialogue scenes. You know what's coming. Dialogue scenes where you're walking beside someone, an NPC. Your walk is faster than theirs, but they run. They walk slower than you run, but you walk slower than them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is that a thing?
I don't know. I forget which game I was playing that synced that stuff up. Maybe it was Expedition 33. No, there was something where the game was like, hey, always Assassin's Creed, I think. It was like, hey, just push this button and we'll match your walking speed. I'm like, sick, let me just do that. Because yeah, the exact same thing where you're sort of like awkwardly running and bumping off them, just trying to make it look more natural. I don't know how we still have that as an issue in 2025.
And then obviously with the times we're in now, what was the last game you bought off of box art alone?
I've never done that. It's always been like I need to see something. I've never just bought. Yeah, I've never just gone off box art. Oh, way back when I was a kid on the Mega Drive, there was a game. I don't even know what it was called. It had a monkey on the front. I was very, very young. There was a monkey on the front, like a baboon, and he was like spitting balls. Like he was like hanging off a tree, spitting balls. And I, as a tiny little child, I was like, I want that one. And I thought it was great. I do not know the name of it, and it was bad. When I got it home, it was a bad time. But I haven't done that since I was a kid. And even then, I did buy that game, but for the most part, when I was a kid, I was renting, because the rental market was still like more active than it is these days. And I would rent a lot of games based on box art. But that monkey ball spit thing on the Mega Drive / Genesis, that's what comes to mind. But I had to really think about that. Yeah, I've not like that's almost like a blind faith purchase to me. Like I would always need like a screenshot or know the writer or director or the studio or something like that. I wouldn't
That
just
in
go
itself
off
is
that.
interesting, though. That in itself is interesting because you've obviously got a take on that, which is like you need a bit of backstory first, and I don't know who wrote whatever it is about it that you need to know. Whereas I'm thinking more like as a kid, that stuff that we miss is like that. You're in a kid in a candy store, you see like a different color. Oh, what's that over there? You go,
Yeah.
and that it's interesting that you've not really had that.
No, not really. I mean, like, I forget what age I would have started, like, caring enough about video games. But I used to always collect the magazines, like, as long as I can remember. I was always getting like PSM and PlayStation World, like PSW, the Xbox magazine, like there was like a Game Boy magazine back in the 90s. Like, when they always had, like deep dives, like they had the hands-on stuff, they had the screenshots. Like, it was never just the box art. It was always a little bit of something else. Like I remember like being so psyched for the first Metal Gear Solid and reading about that, and the screenshots for it, obviously the pictures of the cutscenes and stuff looked so professional and so Hollywood, and being blown away by that. But even that is an expectation that is beyond just the box art. So yeah, I've almost never, well, I haven't, apart from that one thing with the monkey, I can't think of that many examples. Because yeah, I would always have like quote unquote researched it to a degree, something other than just, oh my God, look at that. Because there's always a price tag. And when you're a kid, you're trying to convince your parents or whatever. So I was always like, look at this. There's a whole article about it. Let me buy Metal Gear Solid or whatever it is.
What is a game that people will be surprised to learn you've not played?
Ooh, I tell you what, since getting the job in 2013, I made a point of like, I literally, back then, I used to live by myself. I sat and just wrote a list of all the big games. Like, because I hadn't finished Fallout 3 back then. I got it in 2008. I hadn't finished it. And I was like, I'm going to have to finish Fallout because it was a big deal. I was like, I'm going to have to, actually, I guess, well, no, because I have played it. I haven't finished it. Half-Life 2, I've never finished. I got to that way too late and I played it on PS2. And it was like, I played like, Halo and all the first person shooters. And then I played Half-Life 2 and I was like, this kind of sucks. Even though I get that it's like the holy grail if you played it in 2004. And it certainly looked like that when I saw the footage. I can't think of much that I haven't played at all. I don't know if I have one for that because I make a point of like I like took the Whatculture job incredibly seriously because it was like a dream come true to be able to get paid to talk about video games. So I was like, I'm going to do right by anyone that's paying any attention to me. So like I'm not even exaggerating when I was like, I spent every waking second of my life under the tenure of that company playing as many video games as possible. Yeah, I can't think of anything for that, even though I probably should. But there's probably something really obvious. I just can't. Anything that's like got a reputation, I would have dabbled in. I think anyway.
which is a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
Where'd you find the time, friend? Where'd you find the time for that?
Well, that was I used to stay up until about 3, 4 in the morning every night, and then and would like get. Then I don't know. I think back and I'm like, how the hell did I have the energy for this? But it's because I was in my 20s, like, and I managed to keep it going for the beginning of my 30s. But yeah, man, I used to stay up until about like 2, 3, 4 in the morning every single night. And my shift was 10 till 6. It wasn't 9 till 5. It was 10 till 6. So I could still get like about 5, 6 hours sleep, which for that whole decade plus was enough for me. And that whole chunk of time throughout the night when like it felt like the whole the country's asleep, I can just get on with stuff. No one's messaging me. I've got any plans or whatever. Those little chunks of like 4 or 5 hours every night, I used to be able to get through everything. Like in a way that I've not ever since my kid arrived. I just can't do that anymore. But for the longest time, I was able to keep up with that. But my whole focus was games, though. Like everything was games. Like maintained, friends and family and stuff. But it was any waking moment I had that was my own time. I'm gaming. And I was like, I had the calendars, what's coming out. Let me finish this. I'll get this. Then I'll do this. Then I'll do this. Because it was, it's a privilege to be able to do the job. So like I was never going to not take that seriously. And obviously when you're loving it yourself anyway, it's just an excuse to be able to play more stuff. And then I can talk about it, do the podcast, do a news video, do whatever. Like, yeah, man, I was really hungry for it and then was able to consume pretty solidly for that chunk of time.
That's what I said about the NBA. People say to me, how do you do it? But I watched every Celtics game until 3, 4, 5 a.m. depending.
Nice.
Like eight years. Because I can do it. I'm 20. I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm getting up at 8:30, 9, but I can do it. It's fine. And then final one there, my friend, before we get to the last section, is there a part of gaming you've got zero interest in?
Probably not zero. I think genre-wise, stuff like the Civ games, like those like top-down strategy games, or whatever you call like point and click stuff. Honestly, the hot take version of that is PC gaming, because I just do not enjoy using a mouse and keyboard to control anything. I hate all the setup stuff because there's always something going wrong. Some graphics driver needs updating, or like there's some setting that I've got wrong, and the anti-aliasing's not right, and whatever. It's probably that. As much as I would like to say, I guess I care to. Yeah, for the most part, I just hate interacting with PCs, and I hate having to like all the little toggles and stuff. I have a whole thing, and I've mentioned this on the pod before because Josh thinks it's hilarious. But I have a whole thing for like an artist's vision of whatever it is, whether it's like a painting or a TV show or a movie or an album or whatever, or a sculpture or something. And in gaming, I'm like, I want exactly what they intended me to play or see. And the more things I can faff with, like sliders in a menu, or I can turn off certain particle effects or whatever it is, I feel like I'm not getting the artist's vision. And so like I would rather play on consoles when they've been able to like tailor it a little bit more, give me a specific frame rate or whatever it is. So it's probably PC stuff, because I've had nothing but off-putting experiences when I've tried to game on PC when I was growing up. There was always just something that would go wrong. So it's probably that. I was going to go down the genre route and be like stuff like Civ, and those kind of like Age of Empires and all those kind of games. They don't do that much for me, but I have played them and I have enjoyed them in the past. But yeah, PC gaming, horrible.
Because we had a guy called Mikey on, and he said, there's literally zero that I'm zero interested in, because I might not like it now, but it doesn't mean something can come out that I might try.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think on a long enough timeline, I'll probably end up becoming a PC gamer as well, just because ultimately it's where everything's going to end up. But you can get all your emulations and everything sorted as well. Because I have my Steam Deck full of those things. So yeah, I wonder if on a long enough timeline, I'll just want some big portal that has everything in it, and that might end up just being a PC, but not for a while, thankfully.
And then let's go on to Creator Spotlight. Now, this is a chance for you to shout out either creators you really enjoy, or if not, no problem at all. Don't need names, but just give us an idea of the type of content you enjoy and why you enjoy it.
Yeah, so like I've stuck with a lot of the people that I grew up listening to, like in the game space. Like I mentioned them before, it was because initially when I was growing up, when you first go online, you start looking for video game websites, finding IGN, finding GameSpot. And like largely sticking with those two for the most part across like the early 2000s. The guys on GameSpot, it was like, it was Jeff Gerstmann, Ryan Davis, Alex Navarro, Brad Shoemaker, Vinny Caravella, and sticking with them through like most of the 2000s. Then they left in the middle of the 2000s and they formed Giant Bomb, which like Giant Bomb's like the holy grail, like just a great team of people, really funny stuff. flicking the cameras on, when they're just in their office and just filming the conversations that happened. I love the energy of those people interacting with each other. And I definitely was inspired by them a lot when we were doing Whatculture stuff. So definitely GameSpot and Giant Bomb. The IGN stuff, I watched a little bit of Kind of Funny. Like I used to quite like Greg and Colin together. I thought they had good chemistry together. And I'll check in on Last Stand, like Colin Moriarty's podcast. Because I think he, especially the interview side of things, I think he does really good interviews with like specific game figures, and he tends to get a lot of people. Like he had Ken Levine on, or he got Hassan Karaman on, the developer of Abandoned, that game that looked like Silent Hill, and people thought it was a Kojima game, and then it wasn't anything, and whatever. So stuff like that. But the people I listen to week to week, it's Jeff Gerstmann's show because he does a solo podcast, and then Nextlander, which is made up of Brad Shoemaker, Vinny Caravella, and Alex Navarro. So it is those personalities that I've been with for 25 years or whatever now. So it's mainly them in terms of gaming stuff anyway. Like I have Bill Burr's podcast every week as well. The comedian Bill Burr, like I absolutely love him. And then I'm trying to think what else is on my podcast feed. I might just be them. Mainly gaming stuff. Which is another thing, like something that you don't realize until someone points it out, where it's like even my podcast feed is gaming. Like it's not like I'm listening to like a food show or like a murder mystery podcast. It's all gaming, like all the time, which I need to get away from to a degree.
And then do my favorite bit. We're obviously called Champion the Gamer. So flip it and then tell us, why should someone be following you?
Ooh, I think if you just appreciate a veteran perspective on the industry, someone who has devoted their entire life to studying this stuff and is very passionate about expressing that, if you value honesty in your coverage, and you want someone who will, I don't know, just kind of cut through and be like, this thing's worth your time, this thing isn't, this is what's actually happening with this thing. Like I'm going to research something and do a news video, or I'm going to give you some recommendations. I like to think that I'm like incredibly honest about stuff, for better or worse. Like it was funny when I did the video saying like I've left Whatculture after 12 years, and actually maybe it was on the Whatculture video, because there's a video on the Whatculture channel as well. One of them's on my channel, the Scott Tailford channel, whatever. But one of the top comments that had been upvoted was someone saying like, I never always agreed with your gaming opinions, but like I'm so glad that you're doing this. And I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I would like someone to say if they interacted with me for a chunk of time. Like it shouldn't feel like I'm curtailing to like, oh, such and such is popular, so I'm going to tell you it's good. Like I've always just been me. Because that's all I ever wanted out of the people that I was listening to on the critic side. And whether that was like the Jeff Gerstmanns and them on the gaming side, or people like Don Lawson at Metal Hammer back in the day, back in the 2000s, he was like a metal critic. I appreciate honesty that I can take in, so I want to put out honesty as well.
That's why I think I've always gravitated towards your content, because it's like, I love conversations. I love having discussions about general different things, but the ability to actually have a conversation that's productive matters to me. I don't really care if you agree with me or not, but I want to know that you understand. We can chat about it and discuss it a little bit more. And I think, obviously, I know you've had the Whatculture side of things that have been pretty specific, but I've always felt like you've been the sort of person that would say, I've put this video out, that's my opinion, but if someone asks you about it, you can respect it because you've got a reason behind it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that really matters to me.
Yeah, like I mean, like me and Josh argue nearly every week, but it's like that whole thing of I would rather someone, well, not rather, but it's like I'm completely happy. Yeah, disagree, but I'm going to ask you why, and I'm going to ask you to like I always find that where someone says, "Oh, have you seen such and such said such and such in the news?" And I'm like, "Well, have you looked at the source? Like, where's it coming from? What's the motivation behind that? Is there a motivation for the outlet to be reporting that?" Like, I'm a very critical person. Like in terms of that stuff, I'm very like media aware. Like some of the stuff I did in university was like media studies, like how easy messages can be misconstrued, how easily things can be edited in different ways, how easily you can remove a context. And so that's obviously a wider point, but like, yeah, like I would rather have that conversation, have that constructive side, like you said, and then be able to quiz the person, and they've done the research as well, or they're knowledgeable as well, which like Josh always has, and that's why I think me and him work so well together, because he's able to pick out my stuff and I can pick at his stuff, and we can go back and forward. And like any knowledgeable person who is invested in a medium is going to put that time in. So I love passion, like, passion, honesty, communication. Like I'll take that in any form you can give, whatever you're into that you're applying those things to, I'll always take it.
Do you ever, because obviously you've been doing it for 12 years with Whatculture and whatever, you're doing your own stuff now, and obviously before that you was obviously always involved, but have you ever sat down and said, I'm pleased with what I've accomplished here?
Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah! I mean, I like on a nigh weekly basis. It's unbelievable. Like when that really started hitting was in the end of the because like that whole era when Ash and Rach came in and Rich and Jules and we really started taking off and people started sending in fan art to the office. That I had a real moment then of being like, oh whoa, like someone cares enough to draw a picture of us. Like holy shit, that's incredible. Thank you. And obviously we would get in touch with people and thank them and stuff. And then we started having like some like fans would come to Newcastle where the office was, and we do like little meet and greets and stuff. Only happened a couple of times where people were like, "Oh, I'm in the area. Is there any chance like we can meet up?" And then we would go across as a team and see people. And then when I went on holiday and I went to New York City, I went to New Orleans, and I got recognized in New York and New Orleans, like which is unbelievable, unbelievable. Like in the moment as it was happening, it didn't feel real at all. Like that someone would care. Like I'm just a guy blabbing on and have blabbed on long enough that enough of it has been recorded and sent worldwide, that people resonate with it. And so, yeah, like you never take it for granted. I'd always take it as an honor. So I always say to people, it's an honor to be heard by you, like it is. And so, yeah, it was definitely that stuff at the end of the 2010s when that really started hitting because before then it was a website only model for YouTube, for Whatculture. And we started YouTube in 2013, 2014, but it didn't really take off, especially on the gaming side until 2016, 2017. And once the video stuff took off and people could put our faces to the articles and stuff, then it became like, oh, like someone knows who I am. Someone knows my face. They can recognize me. I'll always remember the first person that said, I was just on the way home. I was on a train on the way home. And then this girl was sat opposite me and she just said, are you Scott from Whatculture? And I'd never had that before. And then just being like, yeah, like, oh, do you know my stuff? Like, holy shit. It's, and that was lovely, So, yeah, it's never lost on me how insane this is. And like when I launched the solo stuff, I would just be happy if anyone cared, but it's like that seems to be it's like I'm only like a week removed from launching it, but it's doing incredibly well. Like the YouTube's got like 6,000 plus subscribers, like the Patreon's got a bunch of people, the Discord's got like over 100 people on it. Like that's awesome. Like when you start saying like I'm going to start doing this premium stuff and I'm putting a price tag on it and who wants to stick around, and loads of people do, that's unbelievable. Like I did a thank you video for the Patreon on like Tuesday or Wednesday, and it is just me saying thank you over and over again. But it is nuts. Like it is absolutely insane. Especially when we look at the podcast, the heat map for the heat map for the world, and it shows like, oh, you've got like 20 people listening in Australia right now. You've got like 3 dudes in South Korea. It's like that's insane, but absolutely awesome.
Because before I let you plug that, sort of finish it a little bit. Before I let you plug that, I'll be remiss not to say I've followed you in not a weird way for about 12 years, 10, 12 years. And the occasional interaction on Twitter, and there was a portion of time where I was really badly on the Whatculture site. But like, it's a joy to see you do what you do because you give. That's what I said about impact, and do you value it, and do you sort of see it? Because you do actually have that impact on others. I would not be sat here doing this with you now if I didn't follow your stuff.
That's cool, man.
That is that influence you do have. So I think you should recognize that if you ever get a chance to.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it was really heartfelt because obviously me and Josh talk a lot about mental health stuff on the podcasts, and I forget who. A few people have reached out, but someone recently messaged and said, "Oh, because of the conversation that we've had, they'd sort out some help for themselves." And they said, "Oh, it's like it's done me the world of good. It's so much better for my family and my kids." And like to have that level of impact, that's that's incredible. Like yeah, anything that I've done that helped anyone is like as a treasure kind of thing. Like that's lovely to know. Like that's such a beautiful sentiment. Like but yeah, like you said, I'm so honored to be able to do this with you, that anyone wants to talk to me and do an interview, like that in itself is still great. But yeah, you never want to let it like go to your head or anything, but that's why I'm forever thankful. And I just think that it's just incredible to be able to have done this for so long and still be doing it.
So do the last champion yourself type thing. Just plug yourself a little bit. Where are you? What's your sites? What's your pages, Discords, etc.?
So yeah, if you go to patreon.com/Tailford, that's where like everything is going to be going through there. There's different membership options in terms of whether you want to help shape the gaming show or the wrestling show. You can join as a helping hand, which still gets you on the Discord. You can still take part in all the different channels that are on there. And that'll still in turn help like what gets picked for the different shows. And then, yeah, if you go on YouTube, you can search my name. You've got the Just Good Game News that goes out every Friday. And then there's the Casual Wrestling Fan channel as well, where I'll do bits and pieces, little news talking points and things like that. But yeah, if you just go to patreon.com/Tailford, there's a whole bunch of stuff on there that's free. And then other stuff is slowly going to be locked to certain memberships, depending on what people have paid for. But yeah, I launched Patreon, launched a Discord, launched 2 YouTube channels, and I keep everything crossed. Keep all the fingers crossed.
I mean, it goes without saying, but for God's sake, go and follow Scott Tailford. Please do it. Like, it's just I can't wait to see where you go, because it's exciting times.
Thanks, man.
You've been episode 73. I'll catch everybody on the next one.
We